here with Dark Rangers Inc. And today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to go over this little Nomad here by Move Shoot Move and see if it's something that you can throw in your pocket or a backpack and take with you to a dark sky site, or even shoot in the backyard, pairing it with either a wide angle lens for Milky Way season coming up, or in this case, we're going to put a 135 Rokinon, that f2.0, and go after a nice bright nebula like Orion. The season is kind of coming to the end, so it's not super high, but we'll see if we can get maybe 10, 20, or even 30-second exposures with something like this, because if you tried to use a 135 lens on its own without some sort of stars tracker, you'd be limited to probably 1 to maybe even 3-second exposures before you'd start seeing some egg-shaped stars. But the claim is that this can handle up to 7 pounds, so we're going to do a basic camera and lens setup and see what it can do. Now, initially, I got this awesome little setup by Smart Components. The website I'll put at the bottom of the screen. This has the capability of putting a deep space camera in back with a filter wheel, and then the lens out the front with even electronic autofocus. And this came in right about 7 pounds, so it was under the claimed capacity of this device. But I thought it took it from like a fun, fast, cheap $400 setup to basically a complicated $4,000 setup. So in the spirit of what this thing is really designed, we're just going to do a mirrorless camera and a lens and see what it can do. I'm really confident that if it's able to work with a 135, it will be much more forgiving with a 20 or 24 millimeter wide angle lens for the Milky Way. So we'll just test it with that and prove that this is a fun little accessory that you could take with you either as your main imaging setup or a nice backup for a low cost budget setup that you can have a lot of fun and get an introduction to the hobby. Now, there are tons of videos dedicated to these star trackers, so as usual, I'll give you a little bit of a how-to, but there are some videos dedicated just to getting the most out of this. Essentially, what you want to do is hook up a laser like this that comes with the kit, and then you point this at Polaris, and that's how you get roughly polar aligned. I'm going to use it with this secondary ball head so that I'm able to get it polar aligned and then point the camera at Orion. But they do make some other accessories which would probably optimize this a little bit more, that are also fairly budget orientated, that will help you really get the most out of it. But I did reach out to them and said, hey, with a sturdy tripod and the second ball head, should I be good to go? And they assured me that I would. And so tonight we'll find out. All right, here we are outside. It's actually going to be easier to show you guys quickly how to set this up while it's still kind of bright out. As you can see, we have the other scopes already out and the sun is setting. So the first thing that you want to do is just make sure you have a sturdy tripod. It's nice and level. Most have some kind of bubble level on them. And you can try to get it kind of close in the right direction by using, some kind of compass-like thing, just to make sure that it's pointed a little bit north, so we know we need to bump this maybe a few degrees this way. And then you also can use an app like this Sky Guide, and then go ahead and follow it up until it gets to Polaris, and then just kind of follow it down and see that you're pointed roughly in the right direction. Now, once you get the polar alignment, you just want to make sure that you lock everything down, you keep it really tight. I actually have the camera positioned in a way that I can have the laser on and it can be seen on the other side, because the target that we're actually shooting tonight, Orion, is actually going to be off in this direction. And I always set the notch on the ball head to be on the other side of the target. That way, if I do need to tilt it back nice and far, I can. With this specific lens, since it is manual, you'll notice sometimes you'll see it where it's not picking up the aperture. As you can see, it says EE. Just make sure this is rotated all the way, and now you can see it picked it up. And sometimes you'll even have to adjust your aperture dial. Now, I already have it set to 10 seconds. That'll be the first test, and I'm probably going to do it at either f3.2 or f3.5 just so we get better stars. And then I'll go ahead and set the ISO to about 800. Most modern cameras do have an intervalometer, so I'm just going to go into interval shooting. 10:9, so that'll be 90 with an interval of 22 seconds. That way, if I do go up to 20 seconds, there'll be enough time for it to take the image and then shift to the next exposure. So there are tons of videos that really go into depth how to do all of that. I really just want to test out and see how this does and kind of where it falls apart. I did test it last night briefly with 10 seconds and it worked okay. I want to push it out to 20 and even 30. And then the final step, once it gets dark, obviously you just want to get this laser actually pointing at Polaris, and I was a little skeptical on how well that would work, but it's hard to explain, but it's actually really easy to see. Even though that the star is trillions of miles away, the laser pointer actually does a nice job showing when you're pointing directly at it. And so finding polar alignment is actually pretty easy. And then just making sure everything is locked down and super tight. And you want to try to move everything very gently because it is, you know, a little bit of a delicate operation. We're using a ball head and a tripod, so it's not going to be as sturdy, you know, as obviously something like this, which is just an absolute massive heap of machinery. We're dealing with something that can literally fit in your pocket. So just be really careful once you have it set up, and then we'll check back in once it gets dark and the clouds part and show you how it's performing on Orion Nebula tonight. I didn't actually have sound on this footage. I was just showing you guys how I was getting it polar aligned and using a batten-off mask to focus. I would recommend checking out the one on the Move Shoot Move website. It's specifically designed for wider angle setups. I tried to use one that was designed for an 80mm APO, and it just wasn't fine enough to make it work. Okay, it looks like those 90 frames are done. Everything's looking really good still. And so I'm going to try to perfect the focus again and give it another go. But if we look from afar, they look good. And then when we zoom in even, the stars are still looking nice and round. And then there we go. This is with 15-second exposures now. So I'll do another 90 or so at 15. And then we'll have, you know, a little bit of data we can actually stack before it starts getting too low here on the horizon. All right, here we are in PixInsight. I did have some more stuff last night, but the sound actually went out on the camera. And a lot of it was just me showing you guys how I did the polar alignment, but I really explained exactly how to do it when it was still light out. I was trying to showcase it, but the GoPro wasn't really picking up the laser and obviously not able to show Polaris. So essentially we can just dive right into the results. I kind of showed you guys setup, and what I did was I shot it first from the grass. So basically, like if you were at a campsite and you were trying to set up your tripod on grass, and from there with these 15-second exposures, I do have some elongated stars. Probably could be taken care of with software, but I would not be happy with this. It was a little windy, so what I did was I ended up moving it to the flagstone, and we can see the composition shifted, to where it's centered. Now, if we zoom in, we see that the stars are looking much better and actually pretty round. I tested all the way to 30 seconds, and at 30 seconds, that was really kind of the limit. Starting to get a little bit of hit or miss at that point. 15 seconds, though, were really consistently good. So if we kind of advance through here, I was doing them in 10-shot bursts on night 1. Night 2, there were some high-level clouds, so we'll just stick with this data as it's pretty clean. And for Bortle 5, you know, it's honestly not that bad with no filter. But you can see we were really getting close with this kind of time-lapse effect to the tree line. So you can see I'm doing them in these like 10-shot bursts. And so I'll stack a few minutes of the data just to see how it looks. And, you know, I do think, though, overall, it is a winner depending on what you're looking for. If you want just a simple grab and go, low cost, super portable setup, even at 135 millimeters, I suspect you could probably go even maybe to like 200. You just have to be careful with how long you actually go. The two main factors are how long the focal length is and how long of an exposure you're looking for. But at 135 with a decent tripod and a pretty good setup, 15 to 20 seconds really reliable. Basically all of these, ever since I switched to the flagstone setup where it's on solid ground, all of these are really consistent, and I would say that they are usable. Like if we zoom in and we kind of scroll through them, let's center it again, and if we scroll through, these are all really pretty solid. They're very consistent, and for the setup, pretty cool. So I'll stack a few minutes of these. I don't think it's gonna be anything mind-blowing, and I think, you know, it's pretty cool. It's especially if you're new or you're looking for a secondary setup. If you're experienced, you're getting Nebula on your screen, and you know, at the end of the day, that's what we're all doing this for. So let me stack it up, and we'll see what we get. All right, here we go. I did a quick stack. It's only 7 minutes of data, but it is 30 15-second frames. And it is actually surprising. I've never stacked so little in terms of time, but just the difference between 15 seconds and about 7 minutes, it really does make a dramatic difference. And so I guess what's the overall verdict here? And I think if you're looking for something that you can take anywhere, you can bring a camera and lens, maybe open up some potential for travel or have a nice little secondary or backup rig, I do think this is cool. I actually had a lot more fun with it than I thought. You know, you really have to crop in to actually see something, but that's pretty cool. I mean, for 400 bucks, you know, you've got the Orion Nebula here with 7 minutes of data. If I would have shot this all night and gotten several hours, it probably would have been a really amazing outcome. So I definitely think it's a viable option. The compact size makes it more unique than others that I've seen, and they do sell some cool accessories like a little micro tripod you can bring with you, as well as some other accessories that might help you optimize this setup. There is a link in the description which does help the channel, but as always does not impact my review in any way, shape, or form. So with that, I hope you guys found this fun. It was a nice way to mix it up. I have been reviewing, you know, some higher cost gear, and I wanted to throw in something fun and budget orientated so that anybody in the community can really get out there, enjoy astrophotography. And so if you have any questions, let me know. And as always, until the next time, clear skies.